Welcome to the Tuesday night, January 2nd, 2024 City Council meeting. Please join me in a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 1 is the approval of the minutes of the December 18th meeting.
I move to approve.
I'll second.
Rick,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
and Mary.
Yes. Item number 2 is other concerns. Seeing that no one's in here, we'll go ahead and go on to item number 3, which is approval of the suggested committees for 2024. Mayor, do you want to?
Sure. Council, I provided you with the 2023 committees. That's the second page in what you found at your desk today. And if you want to look at that, I think maybe if we start with budget and get some suggestions on who would like to be on budget for next year.
I have no problem being on budget. I can take either John or Jim's place.
I'd like to be on budget to follow through with what we have just begun. I think there needs to be some consistency. But if somebody else wants it, I'm more than happy to back down. But there are some changes that I'm not sure everyone is aware about, besides Jim. And it seems like there ought to be some consistency. Doesn't have to be.
I agree, John. I agree you should be on it.
Yeah.
If you want to stay on it, you can. I was just kind of reading, but I'm okay if you want to stay on it. We can flip a coin too.
All right.
Yeah, I think there's no real competition. I think it's just a matter of
Yeah.
some consistency, because there's going to be some
No,
changes.
You sure?
Absolutely.
Okay. And we'll do a vote on this. Anyone else on budget? Because currently we have Mary and John.
Now,
Good.
just before we get to it, there was some consideration given to, if you're going to be on budget, there would be some
I think
preference
at least
for wage.
at least one needs to be on
Oh,
wage,
okay.
yes. I mean,
Okay.
it can be both, but I think at least one needs to be on
Okay.
wage, so there's some consistency in conversation.
That was for Mary's purpose. I have no problem being on wage unless somebody else wants it. That's,
Sure. Yeah.
okay.
Did you say sure?
Yeah, you said sure.
Okay, so that's Rick. Okay, finance and audit, and just for Steve's purpose, because this is your first meeting, finance and audit and tax incentive review, we typically don't have to meet often, or at all, to be honest. The other one that Mary's been on that's kind of, I think, the interesting one is revolving loan fund and/or BIPAC. BIPAC is if we have anyone that wants to buy a property in that South Industrial Park off Wilson Street. We have a core group of people within the community that meet and go over the requirements and rules and talk about whether we should sell that lot for the purpose that they want to use it. The other ones are pretty self-explanatory, but I didn't want you to not ask questions and not know before we got too far into this process.
Thank you.
So with that, on finance and audit, we'll take 2 volunteers for that.
I'll do that one.
Jim,
I'd like to
Rick?
take Judy's place.
Oh, okay. Are you okay with Steve going on that one, Rick?
Sure.
Great. And we will, for minutes, put Steve in. All right, and we have wage covered with John and Rick. Tax incentive review,
I'll stay on it.
Yep, I'll do that one as well.
okay. Mary and Jim, anybody else? All right, negotiations team. We do currently have a street department negotiation. The next meeting is January 11th, and then we will be renegotiating the fire contract. The rest have been renegotiated last year. Certainly like to thank Judy and Mr. Betts for that, because it was a big renewal year for negotiations last year.
Yeah, just my 2 cents on that is I don't think it's as critical. I certainly don't want to downplay it, but with the street department piece, I got to watch. I'm not real sure there's a ton more to do. It seems as though
we're
it's
nearing the end of that.
considerably done. So I think we're meeting again in another week or 2 or something like that.
January 11th, yeah.
And it's, I hate to give a percent, but just to communicate the thought, probably 3/4 of it is done. It's just the final one is, of course, more of the finance piece. But I don't think that's going to take a lot of time. And the mayor already hit on next year, it's the fire department?
It's actually this year, but yeah.
This year?
And I
So it's not like,
would guess that would be a couple days.
yes, because it's a new,
It's
the problem
regional.
is,
Most of them
when-
take
this is
one
for
day.
Steve more than anybody, the problem is when they're new contracts,
They take a little longer, but we're
They do.
nearing the final stages of that new contract.
yeah, so
Did you
my
feel
point
that
to this
was
diatribe is
accurate,
just,
guys? Yeah.
I do not need to be on that for consistent, because it's about 3/4 done now, and there's only one next year, so it shouldn't be very time-consuming. That's what I'm trying to communicate. And I do not need to be on it.
I can be on that, I just can't do the 11th,
Okay,
but I can do the other one.
okay.
I don't know enough to,
That's reasonable. I
You
think,
want off that committee then, John?
I really have no, do I want off it? I never really think of it in that terms. I think of it in terms of what other people would like to do, because I could care less about, but sometimes I just like to put in like some consistency. I don't think there needs to be, I don't think there's much as urgency on the negotiations for consistency as there is on budget. So do I want off? I don't need to be off, no. I mean, I
So you want to stay on it then?
want to stay on it.
I will, can I just
Yeah,
interject a
sure.
little bit? I know that John does have a conflict on the 18th. The piece that we're dealing with that's kind of left, I would really like at least one council member in the room. I don't know if
Was it
any,
the 18th or
the 11th.
I think.
Okay.
The 18th is a holiday. Martin Luther, no, that's,
And maybe it's
Is
for,
it an all-day thing on the 11th?
yeah.
well, generally
Start
they
about
are,
9 or
period.
10.
But, and so is the budget piece, quite frankly. This, once again, is for you, Steve. Those are the drainers.
The 11th.
Okay, those are the time consumers. But they're also the most educational. If you want to, you know what I mean? If you want to learn, go through the budget process, listen to all the department heads give their budget piece, and it really helps a lot with becoming a good council person, in my opinion. That's why I don't need to be on any of them. I mean, I have no problem being on negotiations even for like this next time, even though I can't make the next meeting, and then just being off of it if there's a concern about consistency, but I'm not that concerned about the consistency.
I think my only concern is on the 11th, not having a council member in the room.
Yeah.
That would be my one concern with the issues that we have still left on the table.
my concern is time.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, so, I mean, if you guys are okay with Tyson, Mark Fischel, and John and I making those decisions in the union contract without council, and we can do that. But I just don't.
Yeah, I don't think
know,
that should
you-
work.
You can't.
No, I don't think that's a good way to go. I will do that one more year.
I'll do it with John. And I'll try to, I'll do whatever I can to be here on the 11th. I
Okay.
have training that day, so I don't know.
Yeah, the 11th, I can't,
I know,
yeah,
I had
I'm
some-
sorry.
We'll go with that.
that's okay. It took us like 2 months to get that date on the book, didn't it?
Yes,
What
That's-
time to start on January 11th?
Did they to do it at 9?
usually 9,
9?
yeah.
It goes all day till,
Well,
It could
sometimes,
end at
sometimes
lunch, it could
not.
Go all day.
It could, yeah, sometimes we bring lunch in, sometimes we're done at noon.
Yeah, that's true, especially now, I hate to speculate, and I certainly don't want to do that when we're in the midst of a negotiation, because it sounds like I'm downplaying it, and I'm not. But I would think reasonable heads and folks could get what we have left together shorter versus longer. That would be my general thought. I just can't make it the 11th for
is it okay if
medical.
a council person comes and stays for like a couple hours, like from 9 to 11 or something like that? Because I can probably do that.
Yeah.
I just can't do all day.
And then the other piece that I can offer is if you're, available by phone, I might be able to just call you when we're think we have a consensus and get your thoughts on it. After the 2 hours, like if it's 1 o'clock when we're done, I can call before.
And that would work with me as well,
Okay,
because it,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So which one of you three is,
I'll be at work, so, if, I have no problem with you calling me at work.
Okay.
Or like you said, I can come at 9 and stay for a couple hours, I just can't stay all day.
sure,
We can iron that out later.
yeah.
We're talking John and Mary.
Are we talking John and Mary, or Jim and Mary, or John and,
It's gonna be Jim and John.
I think it's Jim and John. Mary's going to help out. I think.
Well-
Mary's gonna allow the 11th.
can we do that? Wouldn't that be a quorum issue?
Well, we're not going to be there, though.
The other two.
Look at him, he's like, yes, sir.
But we're not going to be there. What makes it a quorum if Jim and I aren't going to be
So
there?
what if we do this? What if we do Mary and John now, and you guys come back before we do fire and change the negotiation team? Because both of you are
Yeah,
available.
I don't care.
Like, if you can come in for a couple hours, and then if I follow up with a phone call and I can call him, it doesn't involve Jim, and then after the street is done, you guys can mid-year or whatever, because fire doesn't, I don't remember when that contract's up, but I feel like it's the end of the year. You can choose to change that team.
Okay,
Yeah, that's fine.
done.
So we're gonna do John and Mary for now?
Yep.
Okay. And that will help too, because John's been involved with this contract, and then once we get that, I can come back to you guys and say, hey, do you want to revisit this committee? Does that sound reasonable to you guys?
Yeah, that's fine.
Because that is probably the most time-consuming right now as far as days off of work. And by then, I mean, I don't know, maybe somebody else will have more free time than they know. Okay, so revolving loan fund, those are scheduled by Dennis Miller. We usually have a 1 or 2 day window, but they're usually at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And those are for businesses trying to get some help, gap financing, if they're going to start a new business in Bryan.
I have no problem staying on that one.
Okay? And then BIPAC.
Is that when the president has to be on? I remember Rhonda Fisher telling us that
With BIPAC?
according to our charter that.
That could be, do you know?
What was the question?
Is the president of council on the BIPAC?
Historically, it
Yes.
has been the president and then the chairman of the Board of Public Affairs,
Okay.
but, yeah.
All right, before we go too in-depth, I'm just going to read these off, and if you guys have any protests or changes, let me know before there's a formal motion. But for budget, I have Mary and John. Finance and audit is Jim and Steve. Wage is John and Rick. Tax incentive review is Mary and Jim. Negotiations is Mary and John. Revolving loan fund, Mary. BIPAC, Mary. And then prevailing wage is Tiana and Bryan, and ADA is Patrick Thorp.
Yeah, just a question.
Sure.
Is, Mary's president, which means she signs a lot of stuff, as I do recall. And she's also on an awful lot. Is there, I don't know much about, and this is just food for thought, the tax incentive review, would it make any sense to help, quite frankly, Mary out with a load? Would it be helpful if Steve were on that, but I don't know how much is involved? Is that?
It's
is
not.
that-
We haven't met.
Would that be something to help break
I
him
can
in?
take Judy's place.
And that would be less for you, or do you want to be on it?
It doesn't matter to me. I mean, we've never met.
Right.
Yeah,
So it'd be a good one though for you. Okay.
Yeah.
You good with Steve taking that one?
I'm okay.
that at least spreads it around a little bit, so you're
Yeah,
not,
that's fine.
Yeah,
does that make,
because you're on a few of these.
yeah. Well, and the president not only runs the meetings, but in this case, she, as Rick looks down at me, there's a few dozen to sometimes hundreds of invoices and
Oh, I sign
purchase
those.
orders and stuff. But
Yeah.
there's more to her than just running the meeting.
Sure.
So I'm okay with that part.
Everybody? All right, can I have a motion to approve the proposed suggested committees for 2024 with also, within that motion, to revisit negotiation teams once street's finished?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Runs.
John,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Rick, Jim,
Yes.
and Mary.
Yes.
All right, thank you for that.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 4 is an ordinance. John, will you please read?
Ordinance number 1, 2024, an ordinance establishing the pay rate scale for seasonal workers in the Parks and Recreation Department of the City of Bryan, making it effective January 2, 2024, and rescinding ordinance number 1, 2023.
Good evening, council. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
In front of you, you should have our updated seasonal workers pay scale. Obviously, has to change again due to the minimum wage changing. Therefore, we have to go through and change the scale for pretty much our entire seasonal part-time staff. So that's why you get it from me annually. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to try to answer them. We do try to be fair to all of our different positions, but we're getting to the point now where it's getting really hard. So we're trying to keep our budget in mind as we make these changes, but also be fair to our workers and employees and make sure they're being paid what they deserve.
Is it a fair assessment on my part to state that what I've read is basically increases due to minimum wage and/or the experiential end of the different people in their position? In other words, their fourth year as a lifeguard or whatever. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, that's, but what's happened over the course of time is as the minimum wage continues to go up.
Right.
We've started to take a lot of the experience out. We still have experience spots in there, but we're getting to the point where our pay scale is getting, fairly high for part-time employees. So we're trying to budgetarily keep things under control as much as we can.
But the bumps are predominantly driven by the
Minimum wage.
minimum wage increase?
Yes, sir.
That's a fair statement? And
Yes.
then there's also perhaps some based on
Experience.
experience?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, there's
No,
a little
thank
bit of
you.
both in there.
I
Yep.
just wanted to make sure.
Nope.
Good. I'll make motion suspending.
I'll second.
Jim,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
and Mary.
Yes.
You guys are making John think a lot this time.
It's the order.
Item number 5 is.
No,
Oh, sorry, but thank you.
I'll move to approve. Second.
Rick,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
and John.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, item number 5 is an ordinance. John, will you please number read?
This is a second read ordinance, ordinance number 62, 2023, an ordinance to accept the proposed planning and zoning code as prepared by Reveille Limited and approved by the City of Bryan Planning Commission.
We're asking for a second reading tonight. If you have any questions, I can try to answer. Andrew went home sick today, so I'm not as familiar with it as he is, but fairly familiar, but I don't believe there was any changes made from the last time, so,
Have you heard anything?
no. No comments.
Yep.
Him and I talked about today. He said he said no phone calls, no public comments,
Okay.
so
And
been fairly
again,
quiet.
we had advertised in the Bryan Times for
Yes,
that public
correct.
hearing at the last meeting.
Yep. So I don't think you need a motion or anything for a second hearing,
No.
or second reading. We're just doing a second reading, so. All
Thank
right,
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Item number 6 is an appointment.
Yes, council, you have been presented with the appointment form for WEDCO, Williams County Economic Development Corporation, and at your motion, I would respectfully request that you reappoint myself and Mary Ivan from L.E. Smith to the WEDCO board. Mary actually has taken over and been voted by the board to be the chair this year, so I'm hopeful that you will allow she and I to remain on that board.
I will make a motion.
I'll second.
Jim,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
and John.
Yes.
Up next is number 7, another appointment.
Yes, this will be another one, respectfully requesting that you nominate me for, or appoint me, designate for the Executive Council for Maumee Valley Planning Organization. This is a board I have served on during my tenure as mayor.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Rick,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
and Mary.
Yes. Item number 8 is another appointment.
Yes, council, I am asking and recommending that you appoint Megan Hall to the Williams County Combined Health Board for a 5-year term. She did serve previously for 1 year, replacing Amy Welling midterm, and has agreed to sign on again. Our other representative is John Drennan.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
John,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
and Mary.
Yes. Then the last item is another appointment.
Good evening again. In front of you, you have a recommendation to appoint Lynn Wieland and Chris Lowe to the Parks and Recreation Board.
I don't know. Those two are,
I'm pretty excited about it.
those two are excellent. That's my comment.
We've
Impressive
been
board.
very fortunate. The problem we've ran into is when COVID hit, we stopped meeting. So the last couple of years, at my fault, we haven't been very active as a park board. And we're trying to get that back up and running and make sure that they serve a purpose through our parks. So we're excited to add Chris and Lynn, and they're both avid park users, and I think they'll be a really good addition to what we have going on.
Yeah,
I'd agree with that.
absolutely. I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Take your pick,
Who had the
John.
second?
We don't know.
Steve, I think.
Either
John,
one.
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
and Mary.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes the meeting. We'll go around the room now and voice comments. Mayor, do you have anything?
A couple things. One, I just want to thank everyone that was involved downtown with the Christkindle, with the lights, with Santa Claus. That took many, many hands, many hours of volunteers. I know some of you up there were part of that group, and I could not believe the amount of people from out of town and in town that are coming and visiting Bryan, especially in the Christmas season. And I'm just very grateful for all of those hands that put in all of that volunteer hours, and for all of our staff at the city that are ready to assist whenever it's needed. We are pretty excited to start 2024. I think we've got some things to look forward to. One thing that I probably will come back to you that was not budgeted is we're getting together with some local folks, Chamber, BDF, Bryan Area Foundation, schools, et cetera. I think we'll probably start having those conversations about a comprehensive city plan that will involve all kinds of things, not just citywide, but for business, for development, for downtown, for all of those things. And then, it'll also include street plans, et cetera. So we're going to start those meetings soon, in a couple weeks. We'll bring you guys into that. I may even ask for maybe a committee to be formed when we get into the meat of it, or at least have the consultants sit down or come to a meeting, get some conversation going. But I think that's something we can look forward to starting in 2024. I think it's important for our community. I just think since 2017-18, which many of you have been on council during those times, we've seen a lot of really good progress in this community, and I don't think it's time to stop or stall. So we're all engaged together and collaborating, and we'd like to see that continue.
No argument.
And can't do it without these team of folks and their employees, too. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
John?
you.
John, do you have anything?
I don't have anything else.
Brian?
No, thank you.
Chief?
No, thank you.
Tyson?
No way.
No, thank you.
No, ma'am.
Newspapers?
I'm good, thanks.
Rick?
The first thing I want to say is, in kind of going along with what you were talking about, I'm very proud of what the downtown looks like and where we're at with that, because not that long ago, we were talking about the problems with empty storefronts, and now that does not seem to be a problem any longer.
Right.
And so, I think that whether we had a big piece of that or not, I don't know, but I am very proud of the way our downtown is shaping up, so. And as far as the city plan, I think that is such a good idea. I think that that's going to be a big positive for the city. Beyond that, welcome Steve Osball to council. You know not what you have done. But, and Mary, great job. Congratulations, and I'm sure it'll be a great year. And I just want to thank all of those people who have volunteered to be on the various boards outside of their normal jobs. It's always good to have people that are willing to help. And so I just want to thank them. And finally, I just want to wish everyone a happy 2024, and hopefully it'll be prosperous for everyone.
Jim?
Man, I gotta echo everything Rick said. Seriously, he said it in a nutshell. Thanks to all the department heads, you guys do a great job. Welcome, Steve. Good luck, Mary. And thank everybody who has volunteered on the boards.
John?
Yeah, I'd like to also welcome Steve to city council. It'll be fine. I know you're got a lot of experience dealing with the community already and dealing with budgets and personnel, and I think that'll all pan out well for you. Also want to congratulate Mary and Jim and wish them well in the 2024 year. I'm sure with their past experience, they will do well also. Chris Kendall and the Spangler's Museum were two things that I probably went to 3 or 4 different times. Every time I went, it was crowded. And that's a good thing. And I'm talking about Spangler's Museum as well. I went 3 different times that I can remember right now, 3 different days and 3 different times. Every time there was 100 people or so in there. So that, I was very, very impressed with that, and hope that continues. I still go in there and go to the theater and try and find the dum-dum drum major guy or whatever he's called, the dum-dum man, so that's a good thing. Also wanted to thanks to Mary for being on the WEDCO board, and for the mayor for being on the Maumee Valley, and also Len and Chris for the Parks Board, and Ms. Hall, I believe, for the Health Community, Williams County Health Board. All these folks do this out of their commitment to the community, and we should be proud of them, which at least I am, and I'm sure we all are, and they should be proud of themselves for wanting to give back to the community. And that, I think, is it.
Thank you, John. Steve, would you like to say anything?
I'd like to first start off by thanking Judy Harris. She's been helpful already, making sure that I had some things and talking to me and getting me started. And then I also want to thank the rest of the council members. I mean, you all have been fantastic at saying, okay, this is what you got to do, and this is and the whole bit. I cannot thank Mayor Schlade enough for helping in the way she has, communicating with me and telling me it's okay to ask questions. I say that often to students. It's okay to ask questions, especially when you don't know. But it's different, a little bit when you feel like, okay, well, am I supposed to know? Am I not supposed to know? But I feel very comfortable around all of you to ask questions, and you've been very quick to say, look, this is how it works, and this is what you need to know. And I got to thank Andy, knowing that he was sick this morning, willing to take the time to explain to me, and answer my questions this morning was greatly appreciated. To send me the information that he did, I feel a lot better and a lot more comfortable with understanding what the zoning changes were. And I appreciate his help in so much in that way. And I just want to thank the community of Bryan, all the department heads and everybody in that regards. Also, I appreciate your patience and your understanding. And I look forward to a really great 2024. And I cannot help but echo everything that Rick opened up with, because it's looking forward to a lot of strengths and positive things for Bryan.
I'm also going to echo Rick. And also thank you for being president. It's going to be very hard to fill your shoes. Also thank everyone who came down to Chris Kendall, because that was a huge success for Bryan. I know the storefronts were very happy with people coming down. And just wish everyone a happy new year. And with that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Second?
Steve,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
and Mary.
Yes.
All right.
Congratulations, Mr. Allspaw, you made it through your first meeting. You did great.